We might not always be aware of it, but the things we purchase today could be worth an exponentially greater amount in the future. If you don't believe us, just ask Scott Amos of Reno, Nevada. In the summer of 2019, he secured his family's old attic and found a decades-old present. At first, he thought it was just a cute find, but it would prove to be so much more. Hello, story lovers. I'm Jamie Buck, and here is... Man finds an unopened box in the attic, then he realizes it's worth thousands. Before we move on, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notifications bell for new amazing videos. On December 8, 1988, the Amos family purchased the game Kid Icarus for the original Nintendo Entertainment System for their son Scott, just looking for a few hours of entertainment. Scott and his loved ones couldn't have predicted that they were actually making a lifelong investment. The game became a favorite of many. Kid Icarus was based loosely on Greek mythology, following a Cupid-like hero as he attempts to rescue Palutena, a light goddess imprisoned by Medusa. Unlike Super Mario, it was based on actual history, which made it that much more intriguing. At a certain point, Scott forgot all about his treasured game. He grew up, started his own life, and left his childhood things by the wayside. Of course, the past always has a way of popping up at the least expected moments. Over 3 decades later, in 2019, Scott was a family man with a crowded attic. Bored one day, he went searching through it for lost treasures. He came across his old game, but was shocked not only that it was still there, but it was also in unopened packaging. How did this little time capsule go undisturbed for so long? All the family had been trying to come up with a hypothesis. Scott told USA Today, "My mom thinks she put it there and never got it back out, and then it ended up in the attic. No matter how much he tried, Scott couldn't recall ever owning the game. So much time had passed that he'd built a family of his own in the meantime." Since the game had been sealed and purchased on December 8th, Scott concluded that it was a forgotten Christmas present. When Scott first purchased the game, it cost him $38.45 after taxes. At today's rate, that's over $80. But Scott suspected these figures would both pale in comparison to what the game was worth in modern times. Granted, he would have to prove it was the real deal. That wasn't an issue, fortunately. On top of still being packaged, the game had more proof of its authenticity. It came in the form of a JCPenney receipt from the day it was purchased. Scott was pleased to have found his old game, but its value was still a mystery to him. For the time being, he placed it on his kitchen counter and went about his day. In hindsight, he nearly made a huge mistake in forgetting about the game for a second time. "I saw it was sealed and I thought it was worth a couple $100. Scott said, "I go to work the next day and emailed a couple of experts. One of them wrote me back within 30 minutes and said, 'You have an Easter egg.'" At that moment, Scott was told that his game wasn't just a dug-up relic, it was worth a lot of money, thousands to be clear. "I didn't want the kids pulling it down or coloring on it," Scott said, so he made moves to keep it from them. Before he even knew exactly how much money he'd make, Scott immediately called his wife and told her to secure the game somewhere the kids couldn't get to it. The tone of his voice convinced her that Scott was dead serious. To hardcore retro gamers, Scott's copy wasn't only vintage, it was a sealed relic of the past. Kid Icarus is one of the hardest NES titles to find in sealed condition, said Valerie McLecky, video game consignment director at Heritage Auctions. "We feel that the provenance will add a significant premium for serious collectors," Valerie added. "Vintage finds like this are wildly popular, and retro enthusiasts went into a frenzy when word of the unopened Kid Icarus got around. It would be a matter of time before Scott made some sweet cash, barring any unforeseen circumstances." Scott learned that he'd have to get through some red tape before putting his treasure on sale. The next step in appraising the game was getting his copy of Kid Icarus looked at by an official video game grading service. Scott sent it to Wata Games in Denver and nervously waited for their response. They gave it a high score of 8 out of 10. Additionally, he was told there are fewer than 10 factory-sealed copies of Kid Icarus in the whole world, which meant Scott was sitting on a rare gold mine. After all, the last one sold for $12,000. With fingers crossed, Heritage Auctions posted the game on eBay and the bids came rolling in. Scott's copy didn't end up surpassing the $12,000 mark, but it did land him a cool $9,000. It wasn't enough to send his kids to college, but it definitely wasn't bad for a dusty attic find. Still, some questioned why he parted with the childhood treasure, especially after researching how much he could have made, and considering that the video games weren't his cup of tea, Scott's decision to sell his copy came easy. "I remember it being hard," he said, "and I was never that good of a gamer guy." Being the prudent family man that he is, Scott didn't think it was fair to him to keep all the earnings. After all, if his parents remembered to give the gift, surely it would have been shared between Scott and his sister. The only way forward was to let her know. The siblings decided to split their earnings 50-50, which came out to $4,500 each. They could have spent their earnings on any item imaginable, but they decided to honor the spirit of fun that Kid Icarus embodied. Instead of doing something responsible, they were going to have some fun with it. So Scott, his family, and his sister went to Disney World with the money. It capped off the luckiest moment of their lives. They were lucky to be able to recognize what their long-lost possession was, because many other families came across items in their garages and attics that just leave them scratching their heads. Did you like the story? Check out our channel for more.